Hello everybody. Today I'd like to show you how to make a simple cushion. In fact, the simplest cushion of all. No buttons, no zips, no velcro, no nothing. Just a lovely cushion. So here I've cut out two pieces of fabric, 18 inches, which is a standard cushion. Okay, in this nice pink stripe, I quite like this. It's just a standard furnishing cotton, well, more curtain weight I suppose. So I'm going to put them right sides together, and before I pin them ready for stitching, I like to round off the corners. Now this makes it a lot easier for stitching because you haven't got that very sharp corner, and a lot easier for trimming and turning out afterwards. Okay, so the easiest way to do this is to get a tin of pins, one of these plastic tins of pins, and you can either use the lid or the base, whichever you're comfortable with. Okay, and just put this on the corner. Now, if you're confident with a rotary cutter, there's a quick way to do this. So just put it on the corner and just run round it with the rotary cutter. If that's a bit scary, you can mark it with tailor's chalk, like so. Rather too much tailor's chalk, and either cut it with your rotary cutter, a bit more difficult when you've got nothing to cut against, cut it with your rotary cutter, or mark it, not quite so heavy-handedly this time, and cut it with scissors. Like so. I get rid of all the bits. For the last one, I'll go back to my favourite method, which is just the lid of the pins and the rotary cutter. Pretty safe that, nowhere near your fingers, and it's a quick way to do it. Right, so even though there's no zips or buttons, I've still got to have an opening to put my cushion pad in once it's sewn together. So I'm going to leave about 12 inches. You don't have to measure it, you know, you can pretty much guess where 12 inches is. So put a pin either side of that 12-inch gap so you know where to start and stop stitching. Now I like to put my pins at 90 degrees, so it saves me having to take them out when I'm stitching, and also with these very thin pins you can stitch over the pins and the pins are still holding it all in place. So it's a win-win situation, I think. So just put in a few pins at 90 degrees all the way around, one on the corners, one on the sides, all the way round. And then just another couple to finish off. And there we go. And now we're ready to sew. Right, here we are ready to sew then. I should tell you before you start, in order to strengthen the edges of the opening, you're going to need to do just a few reverse stitches at either end, just so it doesn't start ripping out when you put the cushion pad in. Okay, and I'd say just a seam allowance of 1/2 inch, 5/8 of an inch, however your needle bed is marked. Okay, and for this I'm just going to use white cotton, top and bottom. Keep it as simple as possible. Okay, so just a few stitches forwards, and then reverse, and then all the way around. Just try and keep it nice and neat around the corners. And away we go down the sides. I know when you're stitching over pins, If you're going too fast and your machine needle hits the pin, it's likely to either bend or break the needle and possibly the pin as well. So when you're doing this, just as you approach the pin, slow the machine down, and then if the needle should touch the pin, it'll just slide off and carry on. I've reached the end, so I'll just take that pin out and do a few reverse stitches over the back, and we're done. Okay, at this stage, to make it very strong, or if you've got a material that's got quite a loose weave, you might decide to go around it again, or even you could also trim it and zigzag, or if you've got an overlocker, overlock all the way around. But as I'm just showing you the construction, I won't do that at this point. But that's a good thing to do if your cushion's going to get a lot of wear. Right, here we are all stitched, so take the pins out. Okay, and before I turn it the right way, I really need to give it a bit of a trim, because otherwise it'll be a bit messy on the corners, because there is a bit of a seam allowance. But I'm only going to trim it from where I've stitched. I'm going to leave this bit just as it is, because I want enough to be able to turn it in and hand stitch it. So let's just trim it down to say about half of the seam allowance. So if you've got half an inch, you'll have about 1/4 of an inch left. Unless you cut like me, where it could be a bit up and down. But just trim it all the way around there. Of course, if you decided to overlock it, you would already have trimmed it and overlocked it, so you wouldn't need to do this stage. And normally, if I was making cushions for the house, that's what I would do too. Okay, just this last little bit. Right. Okay, get rid of all the trimmings. We're ready to turn it inside out. Okay, get your hand in there and push right into the corners. And push it out as much as you can on the corners, so you get a neat finish. Yeah, that's looking okay. Same with this one, all the way around. And then the last one. Right, now before, obviously it's really good to get your cushion pad in and get it finished, but before you do that, I would first of all give it a good press all the way round, and then turn in these pieces at the opening and press them. Give them a steam press if your fabric allows that sort of thing. Some furnishing fabrics might not take well to steam, so just be careful. Check what sort of iron heat you can use on your fabric. Okay, so I'm just going to finger press it at the moment, but it is a good idea to iron it, because if you put the cushion pad in and then try and iron it, it's very fiddly and you'll find it a bit difficult. Okay, and there we go. So just ready to put the cushion pad. Just get the cushion pad. And here we are, an 18-inch polyester filled cushion pad. That's all you need. The polyester is quite good because it will keep its shape for quite a while, and when you buy it, if you get a decent one, you'll find it really will keep its shape. Some of the cheaper ones or feather ones do tend to flatten very quickly. Right, so you need to squash it up a bit. Get it in the cushion pad. Sorry, into the cushion cover, I mean. Push it right in. Get your hand in there. Right, get the corners right into the corners. Alright, and when you've done, bring these two edges together. I need to push it down a bit. Bring the two edges together and just pin them along the line that you ironed. Okay, all the way along. This is awkward at this angle, but I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. Just keep them together. If you feel when you come to this stage you could have done with a smaller opening, and when you make the next one, just make the opening a bit smaller. And there you are, a perfect simple cushion. Just stitch along there with a few, get a double thread, strong thread, quilting thread if you've got it, if that's 100% cotton, and just stitch all the way along there with neat hand stitches, and you're done.